Hello, everyone. Welcome to Healing with Hope and Faith. I'm your host, Hope, and around here, faith leads everything we do, including handing the mic to your silenced inner child so they can finally speak their truth. Because healing begins the moment we feel heard. Whether it was a switch, a belt, a chancla or slipper, or a wooden spoon, we joked about how with one of these objects in their hand, our mothers and grandmothers turned into ninja warriors. And don't get me started on the Jedi mind tricks they played on us if something we did brought them shame and made them look bad in front of their church members, that family member they were always trying to outdo, or the neighbor that they always had to look better than. We made jokes about ducking and dodging the licks, but now as adults, we're circling back and we're asking ourselves if the way we were disciplined plays any part in the way we do or don't show up in this world as adults. Were we making jokes about our punishment as a way of laughing through our pain? And what does it mean for us by admitting that what we experienced wasn't really discipline, but it was actually abuse? In today's episode, we're going to dive deeper into this topic of discipline. And we're going to ask how it affected us, what it taught us, and more importantly, what comes next. It doesn't matter if you're Black, Brown, Caribbean, Hispanic, African, Asian, or Middle Eastern. The one thing we all have in common is our parents believed that corporal punishment was a needed form of discipline, and they used it because, well, they loved us. The belt, the switch, the slipper, chancla, or even the wooden spoon. In every culture, as children, when we saw a weapon in our parents' hand, it was supposed to command respect and obedience from us. For many of us, these weapons lived in plain sight. The switch or the spoon on the living room table, the belt hanging over a chair or a doorknob, the slippers that were bought in bulk, so if one was thrown and lost, there was another pair on standby. They were kept in plain sight as silent threats of what was waiting if we dared step out of line. They were supposed to represent force and authority, but instead they represented fear and pain. And if we're honest, some of us still flinch if someone raises their hand too quickly. And raised voices can make us feel vulnerable and cornered. Our inner child still reacts to the perception of threat, and which undermines our ability to emotionally regulate. Drop a flag in the comments if any of this sounds familiar to you. No matter where you are in the world, we're all healing together. As we address the ways we were disciplined as children, we're now finding ourselves asking questions like, was that discipline or trauma that we normalized? Do we really find the moments of ducking and dodging the shoe or the belt or the chanclas? Or is it easier to laugh about it than to discuss the way it really makes us feel? The discipline was supposed to prepare us for the world, but did it? We learned that love equates to pain, and we learned that silence is safe and obedience leads to survival. But how beneficial has any of these things been to our lives? How have they helped us grow? In order for us to start our healing process, we must first do away with the myth that by acknowledging our childhood traumatization and the way we were disciplined was actually abusive, that we're trying to throw our parents under the bus. Because that's not true. Because most of the methods we were disciplined with were passed down from generation to generation. If anything, we hold space and give them grace because they need healing too. But by acknowledging the effect the discipline had on us, we pinpoint the foundation of a lot of the issues that stem from an unhealthy, abusive childhood. It's not placing blame, it's naming the origin. I hear therapists, I've heard teachers, I've heard preachers, I've heard our parents, other parents, even some of us who are now parents say things like, I was spanked and I'm fine. But let me ask you this, are you? What's it like on the other side of you? Would your ex-spouses, ex-boyfriends, ex-girlfriends say that you were fine? How are your communication skills? How are you at setting boundaries? How are you at respecting boundaries? How are you at asking for what you need? How are you at giving love? How are you at receiving love? Are you fine? Did you know that in 2021, the World Health Organization released a report that stated that corporal punishment was responsible for the increase in behavioral problems, mental health issues, impaired cognitive and socio-emotional development, and poor school performance? People mock gentle parenting, but discipline shouldn't be painful to be effective. It is possible to raise well-behaved, respectful children without beating them until their fear of a physical reaction makes them afraid to do anything that might agitate their parent. When you're hit with an object that inflicts pain on your physical body, it conditions you to believe that pain equates discipline. Just ask yourself this: how do you speak to yourself when it's time to focus? How do you discipline yourself? Is it gentle with patience and compassion? Or do you set goals and marks that are so far out of reach and then turn around and tongue lash yourself for missing that mark? You can't beat yourself with a belt, so you do it with self-talk and self-defeating thoughts. Breaking the cycle and patterns of old don't just spare your children of unnecessary pain, it also helps you to heal your inner hurting child. Looking back on your childhood, how is the way you were disciplined playing a role in your life now? What approach would have worked better in comparison to what you received? I posed the question, how is the way you were disciplined playing a role in your life today? And as an African American woman, I speak on how traditional and generational beliefs were affecting me until I decided it was time to heal and break free of that trauma. I get so annoyed by the growing up black clips I see circulating on different platforms because they're being circulated as cultural staples, but no one addresses that most of them are highlighting negative parenting techniques that have harmed our culture and community, not helped it. A prime example is the commitment issues that we run into and the willingness to argue, even explode over the smallest things. But if you go to the origin of the issue, the outcome makes sense. For instance, most black households operate under the snatch first, ask questions later rule. And rarely was there an apology if you happen to be wrongly snatched. If our parents were chastising us, we quietly stood there and took it. Attempting to correct them made it worse. We were expected to be seen and not heard. So you didn't speak up for yourself. You obediently agreed to their version of your story. Speaking up in a black household was the equivalent of talking back or being disrespectful. And I can actually remember one of my younger siblings being unjustly scolded by his mother. And when he attempted to speak up for himself, our father smacked him and told him, even if she's wrong, you do not challenge her. Not being allowed to advocate for ourselves taught not only me, but generations of people who look like me that we couldn't use our voice. And since we couldn't fight our parents, a lot of us take that anger out on those around us. We're labeled as hotheads when actually we just have years of pent-up frustration from being beaten and berated into silence by those who are supposed to teach us how to stand up for ourselves, how to speak for ourselves, and how to purposely and properly show up in the world. The way we were disciplined turned us into people-pleasing codependents who feel guilty if we set a boundary and angry when people set them with us. Making the choice to heal is not out of anger towards our parents. It's our opportunity to provide our wounded inner child with the safety and nurturing it needs so that as adults we're no longer bound by those wounds, and healing gives both us and our inner child our voices back. By choosing to work past the wounds of old, you take the pen and you rewrite your story. If silence and pain was your teacher, let truth be your voice now. As we look back at our childhood and realize that so much of what we normalized wasn't normal at all, and just because it was common for beliefs or practices to be passed from generation to generation didn't mean they were okay. We have the opportunity to heal the wounds and experiences left by our childhood that are affecting adulthood. We get the opportunity to reclaim our voice. See, this black girl is celebrating her black girl joy and black girl magic because I'm finally free of the black girl pain. I thank you so much for tuning in with Healing with Hope and Faith today. And as we continue to unravel and release ourselves from the wounds and beliefs that have kept us bound for so long, I pray we all experience the peace that comes with healing. Drop a yellow heart in the comment section if you too are taking the pen and rewriting your story. Share your thoughts and comments in the comment section. I would love to hear them. I'm always listening.